Hi there, my name's Aaron Short, and today I'm going to show you how to restring an acoustic guitar. Now, as a beginning guitarist, I found it quite daunting to restring or even tune my guitar, and I would often get friends or teachers to do it for me. But I'm going to show you a great way that works for me, and don't be afraid to save this video and watch it back several times. And when you do come to restring, take it slowly, watch the video. You know, there's no rush with these things. We're learning as we go, okay? So use this as a reference. Now, the tools you will need to restring your guitar are new guitar strings, and that's it. You don't need anything else. But there are some tools that will be really helpful in this process, and I'll show them to you as we go. So the first thing we need to do is to remove these bridge pins. You see there's 6 pins here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mine are white. Yours may be black or gold or any other color. But these are my bridge pins. I need to remove them. Now obviously there's so much tension here that I can't just pull them out. I need to slacken and loosen the strings in order to pull them out. So I'll start with my low E string. Okay, I'm going to turn the tuning machine towards me, which is clockwise. And if you play the note while you do it, it's really useful because you can hear the string is dropping in pitch, it's getting looser. So take that all the way, take that so you don't hear any more notes, it's rattling. And then just go a little bit more, a little bit longer. You want it to be nice and loose so it's nice and easy to remove. Okay, now you should just be able to pull the pin out. Often these fatter strings, the lower ones, are hard to remove. If your guitar is new, it can be very difficult as well. Just take the string and just push it inside the guitar a little bit and then it will come right out. Now put this somewhere safe, okay? You don't want to lose those. Now we'll do the same for the next string. So here's my first tool. This is by Music Nomad. They make really cool products for guitarists and they really think things through well. Because for example, a lot of people make these kind of cheap plastic, and this one has a rubber part where you put it over your tuning machine. It means that you won't scratch it. It's just a nice little touch, okay? So the way this works is to put it over, turn it towards you again, clockwise, and check this out. Well, that was a lot faster, right? Now, if you're only changing your strings once a year, once every few months, you might not want to buy one of these, but if you're like me and you like to change your strings I like to change my strings every week, but at least every 2-3 weeks, a month at the latest. And I do have several guitars, so I find that this saves me time, which is a great thing. So that's the Music Nomad string winder. Check that out. I'm going to use it on the other strings too. For each step, I do like to do everything at once. So I'm going to loosen all these strings. I'm going to do it right now. Loosen all these strings first. Now, when you go to the other side of the guitar for the G, B, and E string, instead of turning clockwise, because everything's mirrored and backwards, we need to turn anti-clockwise. And again, if you play the string to confirm that, there we go, it's going down. Make that really loose, nice and slack on the B. And finally, the high E string. Take all that tension off. You can't really do it too much. You want to make sure they're really loose so they're easy to remove. Okay, so I'll put that aside. Okay, now, same thing. I push the string in and pull the pin out. It comes right out. Take that string. When you've got these strings flying around, be careful not to scratch your guitar or your cat or anything else. Push it in, pull it out. Yeah. That's a really cool tip to get these out. You can buy a tool which will grip these and pull them out. Some people use pliers and things like that. I wouldn't, because these are only plastic and you could damage them. All you really need to do is use your fingers, as long as you push that string inside. Okay, so now all the pins are removed. We just need to remove these strings from the headstock. So I'm just going to pull them out here. There's the low E, the A. Again, these ends are sharp. Be careful not to cut yourself. It does happen. It has happened to me several times. Okay, now I like to take them like this and just wrap them around so they're all together. Those thinner strings can get lost on the ground and you can't find them. Some people even make jewelry out of this. What do you think of my bracelet? But seriously, actually don't just throw these away. There are people that will recycle these. So save them up and then once every few months, every year or so, send them to be recycled, please. That will really help the environment, okay? If they're in good condition, they could be used again, although I wouldn't advise it, but people that need strings could reuse these. So let's make sure we recycle them, don't just throw them away. Okay, so now the strings are off the guitar. This is a great time to do some checking. Are there any loose cables inside? Is there any dust or sawdust inside? If there is anything loose, you can secure it, just give it a shake. Okay, nothing's rattling around in there. There's no picks or plectrums in there. There's no dead animals or anything. You know. I'm just kidding, but you'd be surprised. I've heard stories about what people have found inside guitars. If you have a battery inside, it's a great time to change the battery, okay? Especially if you need to do that regularly. Every manufacturer is different, but that's a great time to do it because the strings are off the guitar and just make sure everything's clean inside. Now, speaking of cleaning, I usually take a clean rag. I would just apply some polish onto the rag, not the finish itself. I would just clean here in this part of the guitar. This is where the strings rest, so it's very hard to clean there. It gets very dusty. And obviously sweat, blood and tears get stuck in here too. So give it a clean, then get another clean cloth and buff it to a shine. And I'll do the rest of the guitar when I'm finished because I might get some sweat on there as I go. Okay, also check your frets. Are they wearing? Mine are fine, they're quite new. Just use the clean rag to remove any dust or get any dirt off there. If you see any like sweat marks on there, you can use some warm water on that and just rub it off. Some companies make fretboard cleaners and oils and things. You don't really need to worry about that. Maybe oil it once a year, but generally just make sure it's clean, okay? Nice and clean like that. Also the headstock, again the strings are there, aren't they? So make sure that's all cleaned off. Okay, that's great. So now we're ready to put the strings on. This is the part you've been waiting for. So I'm going to use a 12 gauge. This is a light gauge string. This is a dreadnought guitar. Often people use 13s or heavy gauge strings on these because they can take them. The top of the string, the way it's braced, can handle that. For a smaller body guitar, like an OM size guitar, people will use 12s like these because the guitars are not quite so sturdy. I happen to like the 12s on the dreadnought. You know, I often bend strings and I like that kind of slightly thinner, brighter sound. So I like these, and I'm using the Martin Lifespan SP. They're phosphor bronze and they're treated. Now you've probably figured by now I'm a huge Martin fan, and I am. I love the company. The people there are really cool, and the guitars I think are just amazing. Now I have tried a lot of different strings, but I've always come back to these. They have a really, they feel good. Most importantly, they sound good. They have a really nice brassy, bold, in-your-face kind of sound. It's great for when I strum. Finger picking sounds great. I've had no problems with them breaking or anything. So I really love these strings. They're a bit more expensive than the regular SP strings, but I like that lifespan coating. I have no problems with them, you know, sounding dull or anything. So this is what I'm going to use today, and I really like them. Okay, let's open them up. They're nicely packaged, and the other reason I like these is because they are individually wrapped. Some strings you get, they're like two strings together, you got to unwind them, they fly everywhere. These are individual. Now some people say, is it okay to do this, to restring the whole thing at once? Like, shouldn't I do one string at a time? You know, you took all the strings off, aren't you going to ruin the guitar? Well, the answer to that is no. I've been told by, you know, several guitar companies it's absolutely fine to remove all the strings at once. There's no problem. If you left this in storage like this, the neck may move, but just to restring your guitar and clean it and everything and do work on it, it's absolutely fine. And it's a nice way to inspect the inside of the guitar and it's a nice way to clean the fretboard and everything. So this is how I do it. One thing to note, this is called the saddle, okay? Sometimes these are loose, which is absolutely fine, but it does mean that as you're cleaning and looking at your guitar, that may drop out. Now be careful, because you may not know which way it goes back in again. It's a great idea before you do this to take a picture of that saddle so you know exactly how it's inserted. If you do get stuck, look online at pictures, and remember that the B and the E have this compensated part here, this kind of wide part here, so that's a good giveaway. It's facing forward towards the neck of the guitar. All right, but mine is nice and tight, so I don't have to worry about that. It's really cool. So let's put the strings back into the bridge then. I'll start with the low E, that's the thicker string, and it says 6th E string. That's nice and easy. Now be careful when you take these out, they're going to fly around, they've got sharp edges. Try not to scratch yourself, try not to scratch your guitar, try not to scratch your cat or anything when you do that. All right, be careful. So there's the ball end of the string. That's the ball, and you'll see there's a wire in the center. Now, when we put this in, we want that wire to be parallel. I want it to be facing down the guitar, okay? So I'll take my low E. It doesn't matter which way you put these back in, but I do tend to keep mine in order of how I remove them, just so they're the same. There's a groove in the front of this bridge pin, and there's a groove in this ball head. I want the ball to go into the groove and sit nicely. Okay, so this is the groove, the ball's in the groove, and the center there is facing forward. Everything's facing down the guitar nice and straight, all right? So what we're going to do is insert the ball here, take our bridge pin and push down on the head of the string, and try and keep it lined up, okay? Because it'll start to move around. Keep it straight, keep it lined up. If it's not, take it out, do it again, that's fine. And once you've got it, push down with your thumb and pull that string through. You'll hear it click into place and you'll feel it. It's like it stops moving. That's locked into position, okay? Now I like to complete the step and then move on to the next one. So I'm going to put all the strings in now. So same again, I'll use the A. Now take your time, there's no rush. You'll get faster at this as you go, but there's no rush right now. We want to make sure we do it right, okay? So I'm pushing down on the head, pushing down on the ball end there, and pull it through, and it's locked. Now as you get to the higher strings, the thinner strings, it may not lock as well, but that's fine. It doesn't matter if it doesn't lock, but try to if you can. Try to get it as tight and as lined up as possible. So there's the D. There's the G. Of course, the more you do this, the faster you're going to get. So maybe in the future I'll do a competition where the person that changes their strings the fastest wins a prize, just for fun. But again, you know, I don't want anyone to injure themselves or damage their instruments. There really is no rush. And please concentrate, because I've had times where I put the wrong string into the wrong hole, and then you get all kinds of problems, especially if you've cut the string later on and it's too late to save it. Then you have to use another set of strings, which isn't fun. Okay, so put that high E in there, and they're all in. So we're good. Now we can go to a close-up of the headstock of the guitar and see how we put the strings through and tune them up to pitch. Okay, so we're ready to put the strings through now. Here's my low E string, and there's two ways I'm going to show you. The first way is the more kind of standard way. I'm going to run this string through the hole. See the hole there? Again, be careful, don't scratch the guitar if you can help it. Pull it through all the way. Make sure it goes into this slot here. This is the slot in the nut, which guides the string through the nut. And I'm going to pull it tight. Now, if I was to cut this here and string it, there'd be no slack to wind into the tuning peg. And we do need a few winds around here to help it grip onto the tuning peg. So what I'm going to do is I want about 1 inch of slack, which happens to be roughly where the A tuner is, about 1 inch. I'm going to pull it back. I'll put my finger there so I know how far I've gone. Pull the string back on itself to there. So now I have that much slack on the string. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around the top of the tuner, and I'm going to turn away, because this time we're tuning up, not down. Okay, we're adding tension this time. The pitch should go up, not down. So I'm going to start turning it. Like this, away from myself. And I've actually placed this string slack over the top of the string that goes through. So it goes over the top. And I'm turning, turning, turning. Now as it comes around, I want the string to come under. So I went over, and now I'm going under. Like so. Now it looks a bit messy, but it will correct itself, don't worry. So keep going and make sure the string stays in its slot, doesn't drift off to another slot. Okay, now I want you to guide it so it stays under. It's a fancy technique with 2 fingers there. Make sure it stays in its slot. There we go. Okay, so now what you've got is you've got a wind over and 2 winds under. It's going to hold that string in place. Now I'm going to check it. Once you start to hear a pitch like that, you're getting close. So now we want to check that's an E, don't we? So here's my next tool. This is a tool that you need. This is my Peterson tuner, which I've talked about before. I'll put that on the headstock there, and we'll check that we're in tune. That's a C, so I'll keep going. Oh, did you hear that pop? That's because it wasn't locked in place. It'll make you jump, but don't worry about it. It's perfectly normal. You want that to happen now and not when you're on a gig. Okay, it's going up. It shouldn't do that again now. It's done at one time. And we're in tune. We've got an E there. Okay, so the only problem is we have this string slack here. You see that I've got nice winds here and everything, but this is the slack here. Now most people would take their wire cutters. This is the Music Nomad wire cutters. They're very nice. I like having them part of the set. They're very comfortable, and they have a safety cover too, so you don't ever cut yourself. But most people would go in there and try and cut that off as close as possible. Now, I don't care who you are, no matter how close you try to get, there's going to be a piece of wire sticking out, a piece of string sticking out. And if you rub your finger on there, you will bleed and cut yourself. And I don't want things sticking off here. The reason I don't want it, I don't think I'm necessarily going to cut myself, but if there's sharp edges on here, they will destroy your gig bag, okay? The inside of your gig bag will get ripped apart. And on a serious note, I have done work with children and let them play the guitar while it's laying on the ground. And I've seen one of these higher strings sticking out about a centimeter. I've seen that go right through a child's finger and out the other side, and it's not nice. And it just looks better as well if it's clean. But how do you do it cleanly? Well, you know what the answer is? You don't use these at all. So here comes that pro tip I mentioned in the beginning, that bonus tip. So please sit down and prepare to be amazed by the wonderful magician Aaron. I thought this was real magic when I first saw it. And a friend of mine, Evan Gluck, a really cool luthier in New York City. Really amazing what he does, and a great guy. And he showed me this, and when he showed me this, I was blown away. So I'm excited to share this with you now. Okay, so you're at a gig, you haven't got any string cutters, or you want to make a clean break here. What you do is you take the string, and I think we call this the wiggle method. You kind of wiggle it, but I'm just going to do it in slow motion. I'm going to turn the string so it wraps around the post that way all the way. See? Now I'm going to turn it the other way so it wraps all the way around. And then the other way, and the other way, and the other way, and the other way, and the other way. And it's gone. Look at that, a clean break. They call it the wiggle method because my friend, he's done it a lot. He would wiggle it. Quick, it'll be done. He's like, wiggle, done. But the danger is you might scratch your guitar with this piece. So I do it slowly, and I want to show you how I did it. Now look, I cannot cut myself. I'm going to rub and rub and rub, and I'll show you. There is no blood, right? So that is a really, really cool trick, and that is a beautiful wind that looks nice. I hate it when you see strings all messy and coming off and falling off and strings hanging off and they're playing. I want to see a nice clean guitar. And that's exactly what it gives you. That's a really good string there. So that's a really cool way to do it. I actually use a slightly modified method of this, and I'll show that to you next. I like to use my string cutters because when I'm at home and I have them at my disposal, I like to hold the string against, I do the same thing. I hold it and I go to the next peg about 1 inch away and I do cut it. Okay, I do cut that off myself there. So I pre-cut it. Now I put it through the tuning machine and I try, if it sticks out too much, you're going to have that same problem. You'll cut yourself. If you put it in the side so it doesn't stick out at all, the danger is it might slip out. So you have to, this does take a bit more, this actually takes more skill, I think. You have to put it through and try and get it so it's just sticking out the end and try and hold it in place. Now this time I don't wind over, which is why I like this method. I just wind under. So I'm just going underneath that, the hole in the machine there. And I'm going to just turn it. I could use my string winder at this point, but I want you to see what I'm doing. And again, make sure it's going to go through the slot for the A string. And we'll compare these and see which one you think is best. Let's tune it. Okay, let me see if I can cut myself. Nope, I cannot. But like I said, that you have got to be more accurate with that way. But I do like it. That's the way I do it. I like to do it. So there's two really cool ways. There's the second way and the first way. If you don't have any of these cutters with you, usually you'll be stuck, but not with that wiggle method. As long as the string is put on correctly. If the string isn't put on well, that again, it could slip out. But it's very important to put the strings on well. So just follow the way I did it and you have no problems, okay? And most importantly, get some practice and always keep spare strings in your gig bag. By now you've probably gathered I like to keep a spare of pretty much everything. I don't have a spare guitar, although I probably should do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the strings on the same way. I'll do the second method, I think. That's my D string. Oh, I'm going to use the winder for this one, so I can do it quicker. So put it through just enough, turn it away from me, so we're winding it up in pitch. Make sure it's to the correct hole. Make sure it's the correct string. I have put the wrong string on the wrong tuner before. That's not fun. So that's good. Here's the G. Now with these ones, obviously there's no tuner up here, so I just guesstimate about 1 inch and cut it. The B I'll cut. Oh, with the B and the E I do go slightly further, just about another centimetre extra. Just because they're thinner strings and I feel like they need a bit more, like an extra wind on there just to hold them nicely and nice and tight. Now with the strings on this side, we're going to turn them towards us because again, everything's opposite, right? So I'm turning this towards me. Again, you feel it getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Make sure it goes through the correct hole in the nut. And then tune it to pitch. Try not to break your guitar. Try not to bang things on your guitar while you do this. Okay, here's the B string. See, I did that one too far through. Here's the B string. I would get that a little bit closer, but I'm at a bit of a weird angle for the camera. And last but not least, here is our high E string. So get it through there and turn it towards me. Make sure it goes through the right hole in the nut so it doesn't slip off. This is when the winder is really useful because these thinner strings take longer. Some tuning machines have a higher ratio. Some tuning machines take longer to turn, depending on the brand and the make. So I do suggest these, they're really cool. Anytime you save doing this is great, especially if you change strings a lot. Okay, so our strings are on the guitar. The pegs were stayed in nicely. If they did come out slightly, then just give them a push, make sure they stay in. Okay, we tuned each string with our tuner. Everything's nicely in tune. Good, so we're ready to go, right? We're ready to step out onto the stage and play our gig. Good evening, Wembley! There's just one problem. Notice how the strings have dropped in pitch? That's because That's because the new strings have a lot of slack left in them, and also they haven't quite settled in yet. So a classic mistake people make is to put new strings on, think, okay, I got my new strings, let's rock, and they don't stay in tune. Oof. It's just because they haven't stretched them, okay? It's really important that you stretch new strings in. And the way to do that is to take your first, second, and third finger, just slide them under the string and just pull it up. Obviously, when this is new to you, do it gently. But the more confident you get, you can go a bit further. Something might slip out of place, that's okay. It's better to do it now than on a gig. So once you've done that, tune it again. See, that's dropped right down. That's dropped down, almost a half step. Yeah, tune it up, not tune it up. It's dropped down a lot. The whole guitar is like dropped down almost as a half step. This one is a half step, it's a D sharp, so that's not good. Okay, so let's do that again. If you do this about 3 or 4 times, or just do it until it doesn't drop any longer, then you'll have the confidence that when you play, the strings aren't going to do that to you, it won't let you down. There's your E, B. See, it dropped again, but not as much, because we're stretching those strings in. There we go. Also, like, play like you're going to play. If you do a lot of bends, and even overbend, you know, you're not going to go that far. But if it's staying in tune like that, then it's going to stay in tune like that. So this is a lot better, now it's in tune. So let's do that again, okay? Now we walk out on stage. Hello, Wembley. And you still see the difference that made? I'm still in tune. Because I stretched those strings. That's a really important tip, so please do that. give the guitar a play for 5 minutes. Get those strings nice and settled in. And then give it one more tune. And you should be good to go. I mean, always check your tuning, but that's going to be a really big help in stabilizing your tuning. Okay, now to finish up, I want to get my cloth again. I want to polish the rest of the guitar. I'll use some spray. I'll polish all over the front. Again, as long as it's a gloss finish and not satin or anything, you're fine. Always check the label first on the polish you're using. Clean the whole guitar, all down the sides there, so you get sweat on the back. The neck is important. This is where our hand's going to be playing. Give the neck a good clean. Clean everything. And if you do tend to sweat when you play, then use a clean cloth to wipe over and under the strings. Okay, you can actually put it right under there and pull it through. Give those strings a clean, they'll last longer. There we go. So now we have a clean guitar with a fresh battery. Everything's good to go. The strings sound great, and you're going to sound great. New strings tend to sound brighter. Some people like the sound of old strings. I like new strings, maybe after a few hours of play. They definitely stay in tune better. They definitely intonate better, okay? Up and down the neck. They're nicer to play because they're clean and not full of sweat, and they're not all dull and nasty, And I just love the way they sound. Check it out. So thank you so much for watching. Please watch this video as many times as you need to feel comfortable. And if you do enjoy it, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And if you've got friends that play or getting new guitars as gifts or just starting out on their guitar journey, then please send them this video to show them how easy it is to restring your guitar and also learn some of those useful tips that I showed you. So thanks for watching and enjoy those new strings. They're going to sound awesome.